Hey Adventurers, today is going to be our goals for 2022. So this would be specifically our reading goals and a little bit of our channel goals. We don't really know what they are going to be yet. Part of it's going to be looking back at last year's goals and seeing how we did, and then seeing what we're planning on doing going forward from there. So we will start by watching through our goals and seeing what's going to happen.
My first goal for 2021 is I want to read at least 5 classics that I haven't read before. I find that Did I read 5 classics? I'll have to look at my list.
That's fine.
Because I don't remember. Let's see. 1984 is Fahrenheit 451 a classic?
Sure. Count it. That's one at least.
Agnes Grey. Count of Monte Cristo. Cyrano de Bergerac.
Yeah.
So yeah, technically, I mean, kind of went beyond like what's actually a classic. That would have to define that. But yeah, I met that goal.
One of the biggest things that I have had issues with since we started this channel is being consistent in my daily reading. I pretty much read every single day, but I would like to get to where I have a consistent time set aside to where I can read books, whether that's usually I tried for between 4 and 6. That doesn't always work. Okay. That's enough. Yes and no. I was consistent in that I did read every day, but I didn't make a consistent 2 hours every day between this time and this time or anything like that. I'm been starting to work on that again this year because I've got a little bit more time. Part of it was just my schedule changed so often last year that I couldn't really guarantee set time for me to read, and I could have if I would have made it more of a priority, but I didn't. So kind of yes and no. I'll count that as a failure, I guess.
So something else that I want to do in 2021 is get a better grasp on one particular author. I know a lot of times we talk about books. I think I definitely did that with Stephen King. I know my goal was Agatha Christie, and I think I only read 1 Agatha Christie this year, 1 or 2. But yeah, I definitely read a handful of Stephen King, which it isn't really a lot in comparison to how many books he's written. And then I also read almost everything by Erudite, all of her famous works. I think she has 1 or 2 other stories that are either short stories or just not as well known. So I also read stuff of hers, which was very interesting because I thought, oh, I love this author, I'm gonna love everything by her, which wasn't the case. So
another problem that I've run into is we will plan to do a book review for the channel, and then I will never get to the book because I've got so many other books that I need to read. So one of my goals is to be better about reading those books that we're planning on reviewing.
I think we did fine on that. We just didn't review anything
we
together.
just decided not to do so many reviews together.
Did we do any
I did
reviews
a bunch
together?
of reviews. I think we did Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That may have been the only one. But I did do a lot of reviews, and what I ended up doing is I basically just ended up reviewing almost every book that I read. So, sure, we'll count that as a win since I didn't count the last one as a win.
I mean, we didn't fail for sure because we set practical goals, which didn't include us filming reviews together. Another goal that I have is to not feel guilty about reading nonfiction. A lot of the nonfiction stuff I read is kind of personal, and I don't feel like sharing it, especially since this is a fiction-driven channel. So I read this book, but it takes reading time out of my day. I think I got through this. I don't know. I didn't read all of the nonfiction books I wanted to get to this year, but I definitely read several. Yeah, I did figure out that I usually need them on audiobook, otherwise I won't put time into them. So, learn stuff.
Yeah. My next goal is to try and get into new genres and authors. I stick mostly to fantasy because so far it's the one that has... Okay, that's good enough. So yes, I actually did I did okay with this. I did still continue to read a lot more fantasy than really anything else, but I started, maybe I didn't do so great. I think I did pretty good with it. So I read several nonfiction, several historical fiction. That's the word that I'm looking for. Several historical fiction, and I do like historical fiction, and I tend to read historical fiction fairly often because that's part of what classics are. But I read more of it, I guess, this year, and several books that weren't specifically classics or anything like that. So there was that. I also started reading some mystery. I think I only read 1 Agatha Christie. So maybe that one didn't really work. But I think I did a little bit better. I think I started a little bit into science fiction as well. So not as much as I probably should have, but I think I did make some progress at least.
And kind of along the same line as that, I would like to read one book from each of the genres I'm about to list in this year. So I want to read one fantasy, at least one fantasy, one sci-fi, one historical fiction, one non-fiction, one mystery, one dystopian, and a horror or a thriller. Okay, fantasy. I definitely got fantasy. Sci-fi, yes, for sure. Historical fiction, yes. Non-fiction, yes. Mystery. This is the one I'm not sure about. I don't know if I actually read one.
Are any Stephen King's mysteries? 11/22/63?
No, that's not the right genre.
Let's see.
I don't think I read anything hardcore mystery. I think that the closest book that would fit into that was actually Out of the Easy, because I had a lot of mystery aspects to it. Yeah. So, maybe I didn't do so great on that specific genre. Dystopian. I read Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, you also read Knife and Never Letting Go.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. And then horror thriller, yeah, I read some Stephen King's this year. So, really close. Not quite on the mystery front. I guess that was my main fault. But yeah. Only a little bit of a failure.
My next goal is I want to read 30 books. I think got that one. I read 60.
And the last goal I have is that I want to get through at least 2 books a month. This should be a given, but I think I did that for sure.
Okay.
On average, anyhow, I did.
These last 2 kind of go hand in hand, and they're specifically channel goals. So one thing that we'd like to improve upon is planning videos. We do this thing where we tend to plan the video the day before we're shooting it, or the day of we're shooting it. That's not good. We want to have them planned and even filmed. That one we pretty much failed at.
Yeah, we did kind of figure out some things that work better for our channel, which is good, but yeah, not really planning ahead, seeing as we planned this like an hour before we filmed it.
What I do end up doing most of the time is I actually have a list of video ideas, and so I'll go through the list and be like, okay, this is a video that we can do today. A lot of them are such that you don't need a lot of sit down and preparation and think time. You can pretty much just sit down and do them, at least what we've been doing recently. So there has been a little bit that I have done with reviews and stuff like that, but for the most part we didn't do great on this, but we figured out how to not need to do it as much, I think.
Mm-hmm. It was less stressful.
Second part is be better about editing videos. I think I at least kind of got into a rhythm with editing videos where we usually try and film on Saturday. I usually edit one Saturday and Sunday and then have it go up on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday I'll edit the one for Thursday. So it went pretty well. I don't know that I improved, because I think I would have liked to have the week's videos done in advance, maybe 2 weeks videos done in advance, and then just have a backlog of videos that are ready to go up whenever we're ready to upload them, or whenever we need a video, but I didn't quite do that. But other than that, I think we did okay. But the most important thing for the channel goals is that we want to put out content that you guys actually enjoy watching. So,
well, this one's up to you guys. Did you enjoy the content we put out this year? Was it improved at all?
Yeah,
You've been watching us for a while.
I really hope that we've at least improved in some things, because if we haven't, then we've been doing something wrong. I don't know where to go from there, but I guess we'll just go into some goals for this year, I guess. Mm-hmm. I think start off really simple. I would like to read 65 books this year, I think is what I put. I ended up reading 60 books last year. I think I can do 65. I at least know that I'm gonna try, and it's a goal to reach for, to strive for, but if you miss it, it's not really that big of a deal as long as you're continuing reading.
I think I'd like to read 50 books this year. I think I read 50 books.
You read 52.
Yeah, so I'd like to read at least 50 this year. I don't know, the number of books doesn't really mean a lot to me, but I think consistent reading would yield at least 50 books.
So one of the other goals I think that I would like to do is to have more videos where I am directly taking influence for the video from the community around me. So things like live shows with other content creators or with other readers or whatever that want to hop on, or doing reviews that people have asked of me, stuff like that, any of that type of thing. Another thing that I'm going to, that's included in that, is I'm going to start asking people in the Discord server to give me one book from my physical TBR, so I'll have a list from my physical TBR, and I'll have them pick a book off of there that they want me to read, and then I'll read it. And so that'll be just some more audience engagement, stuff like that, and I'd like to do a little bit more of that, I think.
I think something that we both like to do is improve our reviews. We both have decided that we're not a huge fan of the way we had formatted our reviews in the past. And we do have a review from the both of us that'll be coming up relatively soon here, probably within the next 2 months. I'm just being generous with time here. So the next 2 months we'll have a review from the both of us about the same book coming up, and hopefully we can find a better way to present that to you all, and something that's maybe a little more satisfying and you guys can get more out of. I think goals will look different this year because we kind of know what to expect and what we're able and capable of doing.
Yeah. I think I would like to continue attempting to read more of other genres than I normally do. Eventually that'll become to where I'm reading several different genres and there's not really more genres that I don't read type thing, which is fine, but I want to at least continue trying to get into more mysteries, read more westerns, read more historical fiction. Those are really the three big ones, and science fiction too as well. Anyways, I would like to continue with that goal, I think. I think that's one that I will bring over into this new year.
And I think my last goal would be reading the books I have. I think it's understandable to be purchasing new books and to constantly have new books you haven't read in your bookshelf or in your book collection. But I have books that I've had for a little bit too long that I really should just get to. And I have this beautiful bookshelf, so I need to read what's in it. So my goal is going to be to work primarily out of my bookshelf as much as I can before I continue adding to it. I mean, that way I know better what I want, because I don't want just any book in my shelf.
I think I actually will do something similar with that, and that's read primarily the books that are on my shelves. So I'm sure audiobooks will be ones that that I don't have, stuff like that. And if I get books as gifts, or people send me books, or whatever happens, that's fine. I will continue to add them, but I'm not gonna purposely go buy 30 books like I have in the past. I mean, I'm not opposed to that either, but I want to at least try and read primarily from my shelves. And along with that, I'm also going to try and build myself a nice big bookshelf to fill it, because if you've seen my bookshelf reorganization videos, you know that I don't have enough space on my bookshelves. Well, I barely had enough space in the last reorganization video, and I've gotten a bunch of books since then. So we will see what happens with that, but yeah. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and have our social medias linked in the description down below. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys again soon. Stay warm.